The topic that I chose within pollution to focus on for my presentation is eutrophication, excess nutrient pollution. So what is eutrophication? It occurs when the environment becomes too enriched with nutrients. Nutrients that contribute to this problem are nitrogen and phosphorus. While nitrogen and phosphorus are needed for plants to grow, too much can cause an excess growth of algae that clouds the water. Eutrophication and nutrient pollution mean the same thing. Excess nutrients lead to harmful algae blooms and hypoxic waters. The eutrophication process sets off a chain reaction within the ecosystem. It all starts with an overabundance of plants and algae, which lead to excess algae and plant decomposition producing carbon dioxide. The excess algae that is present acts as a filter where it blocks the sunlight that goes through the water that is needed for seagrass to grow. Lack of sunlight from algae causes the seagrasses to die. When seagrasses and the algae decay, they use up the water, or the oxygen that is in the water, which leads to low levels of dissolved oxygen. Excess algae also impacts the mollusk populations, which naturally reduce nutrients in the water through their filter feeding activities. 65% of the estuaries that have been studied within the United States have shown results of being degraded by excess nutrients. The degradation in these estuaries range from moderate to severe. So where do all these excess nutrients come from? Some of the human-generated sources of nitrogen and phosphorus are the agricultural and mining industries. So some of the practices that are used within both of these industries can lead to nutrient pollution entering downstream waterways if the wastewater and runoff are not captured on site. Livestock ranching creates animal waste, which is also rich in nutrients. Another contributor is stormwater runoff. Water running off parking lots, lawns, and other residential areas finds its way into canals, rivers, and eventually into lakes and estuaries. They can carry pollutants from human-generated activities. Some other activities, such as uncollected pet wastes and fertilizers that contain nutrients, are also brought downstream through stormwater runoff. Another human-generated source of nitrogen and phosphorus is wastewater discharges and filling septic tanks. Human wastewater is a major source of nutrient pollution. Municipal wastewater plants that are not treating to advanced wastewater standards or do not have enough backup power or excess of storage to hold wastewater during storm events can discharge nutrient-rich wastewater to downstream waters. Septic tanks that are placed too low, such that they are too close to the groundwater table or near the surface, can leak nutrient-rich wastewater into the surface waters or groundwaters below them. So why are excess nutrients bad? While algae are naturally occurring aquatic organisms, they can lead to harmful algae blooms if excess nutrients are present. The causes harmful algae blooms. It leads to an imbalance in the ecosystem and produce toxic or harmful effects on other organisms. They cause losses of wetlands, seagrasses, and oysters. Wetlands are natural kidneys, so when they are overloaded with these nutrients, they do not work as well. Oysters can naturally filter up to 50 gallons of water a day, and nutrient pollution and algae block the sunlight, which causes seagrasses to die. So what are harmful algae blooms? So harmful algae blooms occur when the algae population starts to die. The duration of the algae bloom depends on both physical and biological conditions. They typically occur in the summer and early fall. They're a result of winds and water currents. Natural phenomenon. So natural phenomenon include sluggish water circulations, unusually high water temperatures, and extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, and levels of nutrient overfeeding. So harmful algae blooms release cyanobacteria within the waters. Cyanobacteria is mostly found in fresh and brackish waters and is one of the oldest life forms on Earth. It produces both neurotoxins and hepatotoxins. And these neurotoxins and hepatotoxins can have harmful effects on humans, plants, animals, birds, livestock, and marine life. They're harmful to humans during recreational water use, either through body contact, inadvertent ingestion, or inhalation of water droplets. The risk of having these types of reactions increases with intensity as the amount of harmful algae bloom increases. Some strains of the cyanobacteria, the microcystis, produce a water-soluble toxin called microcystin. It can damage the liver of pets and livestock. These harmful algae blooms and microcystis also create low oxygen or dead zones that clog the gills of fish and vertebrates or smother corals and other submerged aquatic vegetation. These harmful algae blooms also lead to damage to the local economies through lost commerce, recreation, and tourism. So how does this problem affect Southwest Florida? Nearly 50% of nitrogen in the Caloosahatchee River comes from downstream of Lake Okeechobee. Sources of nutrients and bacteria in the Caloosahatchee estuary include urban runoff from fertilizers, impervious surfaces, and pet waste, septic tank failures, agricultural runoff such as fertilizer and livestock, wastewater, and industrial sources. Cyanobacteria has been a problem in the local waterways, most notably in the Caloosahatchee River and Cape Coral canals. So with all that in mind, why do we have reasons for hope? So at the national level, we have the U.S. EPA, or the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. We have the government within the state of Florida. And then here locally in Southwest Florida, we have organizations such as Coastal and Heartland National Estuary Partnership, the Caloosahatchee River C43 West Basin Storage Reservoir, the Caloosahatchee Waterkeeper, and then residents here in Southwest Florida. So at the governmental level, we have the U.S. EPA. So back in 1997, the National Estuary Program was established by Congress. The mission of the National Estuary Program was to protect and restore water quality and protect and restore ecological integrity. Currently, 28 estuaries located across the Gulf, Atlantic, Pacific coasts, and Puerto Rico are enrolled within the program. Each of the national estuaries focuses in an area that includes the surrounding estuaries and the watershed. Here within the state of Florida, there are 4 programs that are enrolled in the National Estuary Program. They include Indian River Lagoon NEP, the Coastal and Heartland National Estuary Partnership, which is our local partnership, the Sarasota Bay Estuary Program, and Tampa Bay Estuary Program. So, what is the state of Florida doing to help this problem? So, on January 10th, 2019, Governor Ron DeSantis signed Executive Order 1912, which was entitled Achieving More Now for Florida's Environment. This executive order created the Blue-Green Algae Task Force with the purpose to reduce blue-green algae blooms over the next 5 years. Specifically to Southwest Florida, Section 1F of the executive order calls for the Department of Environmental Protection of Florida, the FDEP, to work with Southwest Florida Water Management District to add stormwater treatment to the C43 reservoir to provide additional treatment and provide the water quality leaving this in sight, this important storage component. So here locally, one of the organizations that we have working locally to help us out solve this problem of eutrophication is the Coastal and Heartland National Estuary Partnership, or CHNEP. They were founded in 1995. Former Florida Governor Chiles submitted a nomination to the U.S. EPA to designate the Greater Charlotte Harbor Estuary System as an estuary of national significance. On July 6, 1995, 7 nominations, including the one for CHNEP, were accepted. The area that CHNEP covers encompasses an area of 5,416 square miles. It covers both inland and coastal communities, and it is encompassed in 10 counties and 25 cities. Some of their work is also funded by FGCU. So one of their main goals is hydrological restoration within the area. So this goal is to have appropriate freshwater flow across the landscape to sustain the health of wetlands, rivers, and estuaries. The estuaries that they cover include Lemon Bay, Donna and Roberts Bay, Charlotte Harbor, Pine Island Sound, Caloosahatchee, San Carlos Bay, and Estero Bay. The rivers that they cover include Myakka, Peace, Caloosahatchee, and Estero. The projects that they are currently working on are estuary restoration in Southwest Florida, where they are planting seagrasses and oysters and conducting water quality tests, the Caloosahatchee project, and the quantification of submerged aquatic vegetation restoration benefits. So one of the projects that CHNEP is working on is the Caloosahatchee project. So the project's goal is to test the usage of open cell foam called Aquaflex to absorb and remove excess nutrients and cyanobacteria. So Aquaflex is a technology that was developed to assist during the BP oil spill cleanup in 2010. The company developed a special open foam cell pad to help soak up oil from the water during the spill. The foam pads work by soaking up floating debris like a paper towel that can either be wrung out mechanically or by hand afterwards. This project is a partnership between Sea and Shoreline Aquatic Restoration, Aquaflex Holdings LLC, and FGCU. The project was scheduled to occur during an algae bloom in 2020. Scientists at FGCU were scheduled to test if Aquaflex improves water and air quality at the Caloosahatchee River. The overarching goals was to improve water quality, lessen harmful effects of algal blooms, and improved aquatic habitat by lessening the spread or intensity of cyanobacteria. Another project that CHNEP is working on is the quantification of submerged aquatic vegetation restoration benefits. So this dredging has been used in the Caloosahatchee River estuary, which has caused it to lose the majority of its oyster reefs and seagrass beds. Seagrass improves water quality by filtering nutrients. Filtration of nutrients helps to prevent harmful algae blooms. High nutrient levels, such as those of nitrogen and phosphorus, have led to harmful algae blooms. This work is a partnership between FGCU, Angler Action Foundation, Sea and Shoreline LLC, and Johnson Engineering. Funding used to quantify nutrient load removal and the abilities of seagrass to act as a filter. The overall goals are to increase interest in funding for seagrass restoration, planting of additional seagrasses to help with excess nutrient filtering, and to decrease harmful algae bloom events. The next group within Southwest Florida that is working to reduce the cyanobacteria and issues with eutrophication is the Caloosahatchee River C43 West Basin Storage Reservoir. So this project of an 18-month feasibility study on opportunities for nutrient loading reduction was the result of Executive Order 1912 that was signed by Governor Ron DeSantis in January of 2019. The study is to test different technologies to reduce nutrients in algae. So the ways that they can do that are physically through filtration, chemically through coagulation, biologically through treatment wetlands, or a combination of different items such as treatment in floating wetlands and algae management. The types of wetlands that were tested for nutrient removal are common Florida treatment wetlands, such as natural swamps and surface flow marshes, wetland plant communities, such as floating aquatic vegetation, emergent aquatic vegetation, submerged aquatic vegetation, and periphyton. So one local success story using some of these wetland technologies is Freedom Park in Naples. And the picture over to the right shows their periphyton treatment area at Naples. So this treatment area has been able to reduce the total nutrient content in the wetlands there by 41%. This area collects and treats over 200 million gallons of water per year. And it collects stormwater runoff from a 3,000-acre watershed. Another reason for hope within our local community is the work being done by Kless Waterkeeper. It was founded in 1995 and admitted into the Waterkeeper allowance in 2015. Their primary areas of focus are cyanobacteria and red tide, Lake Okeechobee discharge, the C43 reservoir, Caloosahatchee oxbows, Cape Coral spreader canals, and bacteria monitoring. Their current policy planning objectives are to revise Lake Okeechobee operations, establish statewide standards for cyanobacteria. They are trying to encourage the state of Florida's Department of Environmental Protection and their Department of Health to adopt the 2016 EPA guidelines for microcystin from blue-green algae. They are working to increase fecal indicator bacteria monitoring. They are also working to adopt mandatory and verifiable agricultural best management practices. So the agricultural best management practices that are currently being used are ineffective in protecting state waterways from nutrients and other pollutants. They encourage the enforcement of SB 712 of the 2020 Clean Waterways Act. They're also working to ensure water quality treatment for C43 reservoir meets the effluent limitation. So how can Southwest Floridians help the problem of eutrophication within the community? They can start by using less fertilizer, especially during rainy season. Fertilizers contain nitrogen and phosphorus, which lead to the problem of eutrophication. They can create a native landscape. Florida-friendly plants grow naturally and do not need fertilizers or pesticides. Plant canopy trees and shrubs. Large leafy surfaces can intercept rainwater before it hits the ground. This helps to keep stormwater runoff out of waterways. They can also use a barrel to capture and clean up rainwater and prevent runoff. This water in turn can be used for irrigation purposes. Septic tank inspections. Septic tanks can leak nutrients, which gets into the wastewater or the groundwater. This groundwater will end up downstream and lead to the problem of eutrophication. Another tip is to pick up and dispose of pet waste. Pet waste contains nutrients and bacteria that could end up in swales, canals, and stormwater drains, leading to excess nutrients. So as you can see, there is a lot of work being done within the community, at the state level, and at the national level to help ensure that this problem of eutrophication within Southwest Florida is managed so that we can all enjoy the beautiful waterways within the area.